Good afternoon, and welcome to the Texas Public Employees Association Friday webinar education series. My name is John Green with Association Member Benefits Advisors. We appreciate you joining us today. Some of you are joining us on your lunch hour, so we're going to start on time and get finished on time. But thank you for joining us. Just a couple of housekeeping details before we get rolling today. And before I make some introductions, we do record all of these sessions. We make them available out on the TPEA website so that you can, if you're a member, you can log in and view those webinars in arrears and get a chance to see those and discuss them with your family members. Just cover some things that you may not have been aware of as well. All participants are in a listen-only mode, and that means if you've got a question, please drop it into the Q&A section. My co-host for today, James Johnson, he and I will be monitoring that Q&A section as well, along with the TPEA staff. And if it's a question that is specific to you, we'll probably answer that back via the Q&A feature. If it's something that the whole group would benefit from hearing from, we'll stop along the way and address those questions as well. We'll also give you some opportunities to seek more information at the end. And if you're not a member, we're going to show you how you can become a member as well. We are fortunate to be joined today by Executive Director Ann Bishop, as well as Ray Emel, your legislative liaison. They're going to share with you a lot of incredible things that are going on. As you know, for most of you who are in state employment, this time of year gets very, very exciting with the legislative session kicking off. And you hear lots of news out there. TPEA is here to help you decipher what's important, what's going on out there, and to help address your issues as well. So Ann and Ray, you want to share with us, unmute there and share with us what is going on in the legislature right now.
Thank you, John. And first off, I want to say to all of you, thank you for your service to the state of Texas. We want you to know that you are appreciated and what you do is vitally important to how this state functions. Now, it's very, very good timing here that we're having a financial wellness seminar because we have some news on the financial front that will affect your pocketbook. But you know that TPEA has a particular priority, a legislative agenda that we bring forward that our board adopts every legislative session. And for this session, we have state employee pay raise, top of the line there. We also have continued support for ERS's retirement and insurance budget requests. Additionally, we are still pushing for and have that as a main legislative item to a COLA and/or 13th check for retirees. Now, state agencies were submitting their LARs, their legislative appropriations requests, in August and September. And TPEA was there at most of them. At over 50 of those hearings, TPEA was the only group that was testifying. TPEA testified on behalf of state employee pay raises, on behalf of ERSs getting additional funding, and that sort of thing, and of course the insurance program. Now, the hearings that are involving the actual legislative members begin on the Senate side Monday, January 30th, and they will continue for probably 3 weeks. And TPEA will again be testifying. But I want you to know that there's been a lot of legwork by the TPEA team, myself, Ann Bishop, Gina, Stannard included, as we went around the Capitol. And we visited every office, we visited every staff person we could catch, and every legislator we could catch. More often it was staff people, but we've gotten the message out, I think, very effectively. And I want you to know that the appropriations bills that were introduced within the last week or so on the Senate side and on the House side, Senate Bill 1 and House Bill 1, you can see, in fact, if you go to the TPEA website, tpea.org, you see down at the bottom there, and you can see how to reach the Advocacy Action Center. And we're going to talk about that a little more. But there are lots of details about the legislation that has been introduced already, including House Bill 760 regarding longevity pay and House Bill 202 regarding pay raise. But the actual pay raises that are proposed have to be in the appropriations bill. And this time, for the first time in over 20 years, The introduced versions of both the Senate and House budget bills, the appropriations bills, contain a 5% per year increase for state employees, a 5% general increase for all state employees. And that's pretty good news, but it's not a done deal. TPEA will be diligent and persistent, and we will be present and testifying on behalf of all agencies that we can. And we will be testifying what's called Article 9, where the pay raise is contained. And until this bill is signed by the governor, it's not a done deal. But we can tell you this is very hopeful. This is the first time, and like I said, in a couple of decades, that we've seen a pay raise contained within the appropriations bill. Now, also, we don't want you to forget that every 2 years, the legislature needs to appropriate money for the ERS health plan, which has grown to be an expenditure of $4 billion. So the pay raise is about 1.8 billion, as with I didn't mention this, I should have, $250 minimum. So for those of you making $40,000 or $50,000 a year or $30,000 a year, it's more like a 7.5% increase. So the legislature is cognizant that a lot of the turnover is occurring in folks making less than $50,000 a year. So that we think is very good news, and we will be thanking the legislature, and we will be also continuing to testify in support of those agencies that have targeted pay raise increases. And we will also support something else that's in the appropriations bill regarding state employee pay, and that is the classification schedule revision, which is done every 2 years, and which maybe costs another $10 million. So there's a lot of money being spent by the legislature for state employees for your benefits and for your pay. Now, on the pension side of things, they are continuing their commitment, the promise they made last session. They're putting in another $1.1 billion over the coming biennium into the pension fund on top of the 10% of salary they put in. In addition to that, there are a couple of unique features in Article 9, which direct the supplemental bill to contain both a pay raise acceleration to June 1 of this year, not September 1, but June 1. And that would cost another couple $100 million right there. And they put in a provision that would put in an additional $1 billion on top of the 1.1 billion I told you about, and on top of the 10%, an additional $1 billion into the ERS fund this summer, this June. So those are very hopeful signs of the legislature's commitment to state employees and retirees, because this will go a long way to shoring up the ERS fund, put it in a position to come forth with increases for retirees. So we think this is just excellent news. And like I said, we're going to have to monitor it. We're going to have to be, talking to folks, continuing our efforts to communicate with folks about how important this is. And so now for those of you who might be law enforcement or correctional officers, there is an additional $750 million being put into the law enforcement supplemental retirement fund, which is another big pot of money. And that will bring that fund up to actuarial fiscal soundness, make it whole. So there's just good news on the pension front, on the insurance front, and on the pay front. But we urge you to consider joining TPEA, because we're the group that's been out there all year long, all last year, and now going forward to try and get all of these things done for you. And we need your support. We need you to contact your legislator, and we ask you to give us your cell phone number so that you can text TPEA to 972-217-4067, 972-217-4067. Text the word TPEA to that number, and you will get text alerts on those very few occasions where it's critical that you contact your local legislator. Do so if you're an employee. Do so on your own time and on your own equipment. So again, thank you so much for all you do for the state, and know that the legislature is showing a degree of attention to your situation, whether you're an employee or retiree, that is very, very notable, very, very good. There are some tools for advocating that on the TPEA website at the Advocacy Action Center. So if you go to TPEA, we'll show you there on the screen. If you look at the slide, it'll show you go to TPEA.org, and then you look for the Advocacy tab, and you go to Advocacy Action Center. And that will give you other ways to directly contact by tweeting, by emailing, and so with suggested language. We even have some suggested language there to contact your local and statewide elected officials. So take a look at that. And so this is some pretty gee whiz kind of stuff that we now have to make it a lot easier for you to be contacting your legislator.
Absolutely, Ray. I think it's I was out there checking it out a few days ago, and I was very impressed with what we have out there, what TPA has done, especially when you combine it with the action alert. And when you text TPEA to that phone number, we'll have that up for you a little bit later as well. And you've been doing this for quite a while. How do you feel going into this legislative session? Where are some of the efforts that TPA has put forth? What your outcome expected is?
Oh, well, thank you, John. Yes, I have been doing it for quite a while, but before I get to that, I want to point out that on the Action Advocacy Center, there is a tab for bills. So if you're interested in a particular bill, or you want to see if something's impacting you or your agency or retirees, there is a list of bills on that page as well that we are following. Some of them we may be pro, some may be we are not for, depending on what they are, but they are listed and we update them each Friday. So just to let y'all know that that is available for you as well. And you asked how I feel going into this session. I've been doing this since the 1980s, early 80s, and I have never seen an appropriations bill that was introduced that had both the pay raise and the insurance money, as well as additional funds for ERS retirement. It is unprecedented. So we are grateful and appreciative that both the House and the Senate bills have those items in it. And if they stay in it, then it's up to the governor, of course, to sign the appropriations bill and make it effective. But our job is to make sure that nobody messes with those provisions and takes them away to divert them for other uses or to potentially save money. So we're grateful that it's in there, but now instead of always asking for these things, and we'll continue to ask for more, as Ray said, we'll follow the state agency's lead, as well as asking for our retirees. But we're in a defensive posture where we have to keep people from taking it away or bad things from happening. And so it's a little bit different, but it's a good place to be, to start, to have those things in both bills at the beginning of the session, right off the bat. If they stay in, there is no controversy. It will keep moving.
Great. Thank you for that. You know, you talk a lot about the pay increases for active. You talk about the increase in the contributions towards pension and ERS and for the healthcare and things like that. What are your thoughts, or what are we still fighting for as far as a cost of living adjustment increase for retirees? Where does that stand?
Well, where it stands right now is that when the ERS gets the additional money that they have been appropriated in the appropriations bill, that the actuaries and ERS estimate that retirees, according to the statute that's in place right now, retirees who've been retired 20 years or more will get a 3% COLA effective January 1st, 2025. Now, that only impacts a small part of the population of retirees. So we will be working to either expand that amount to include more people, or in the alternative, or in addition to getting a 13th check for retirees so that they can pay their current expenses and recognize all the inflation that has been occurring over the last 20 years since the last time there was any kind of adjustment for retirees. So it's not a done deal in this case yet. Again, it depends on the money, and we will be asking for and continuing to ask for the money for those two items.
Great. Thank you very much. And again, if you've been following along some of the efforts that TPEA has put in to help make sure that there is proper funding into ERS allows for those potential things in the future. So Ann, Ray, thank you so much for sharing with us, keeping us updated. Again, go out and sign up for the legislative action emails, texts in that regard. Go take a look at the Advocacy Center. There's so many things out there for you as well. If you are joining us and you are not a TPEA member, or you know of someone who is a state employee or retiree who is not a TPEA member, grab your smartphone real quickly, open up your camera feature on that smartphone and hover over that QR code that you see on the screen there. What TPEA is doing to advance your cause as an active employee, as a retiree, can only be done when we have large volumes of voices out there. There are many different membership levels. If you're an active employee, if you're a retiree, or if you're a spouse or a friend of state employees, and you want to support the voice of the organization out there. So it's a great way to lend your voice, also to get information on the latest news of bills and things like that that are going on. It helps your voice be heard, helps Ann and Ray continue to support that out there. And then you get all sorts of different member benefits and content. We're going to talk about some of those things, like the recording of this webinar and things of that nature. So again, I cannot stress enough the value of membership and the power when Ann and Ray and other members of your association go up to the Capitol and say, hey, we want you to support these bills. When they're in front of legislators in their offices, in testimonies, things like that, we come with numbers. It makes a world of difference. So again, use this QR code. We'll make this available. Please, please, please get involved in TPEA if you're not a member already. If you are, thank you very much for your continued support. We do appreciate that. Because what TPEA does for you, as Ann and Ray have mentioned, besides some of those legislative advocacy things, which are big on your pay raise, which are big on your paid state health care. A lot of states don't have paid state health care. Protecting that, as Ann mentioned, paying defense is almost as important as playing offense. And so that's what TPEA does on your behalf. Lobbies for retirees, for making sure that ERS is properly funded, giving 13th checks and cost of living adjustments, things like that. Working together with state agencies to support you. That's what they do, keeping you connected. Coming out of COVID, this past year has been really quite fun, getting back together with members of different agencies all across the state in lunch and learns and after hours events, things like that, to get to know the TPEA staff, get to know each other. And then also connecting you back to optional benefits, things that you can use to save you money, to make your pension checks or make your paycheck stretch a little further, and cover some things that may not be out there before. At Association Member Benefits Advisors, we are a membership benefits organization. Our number one primary goal is to support TPEA to grow their membership. We do that through a wide variety of ways, including offering benefits to fill those gaps that aren't covered by your state plan. Whether you're an active employee or retiree, there are certain things the state does and does not offer for you. You can get those things that you need to fill those gaps through your TPEA membership. You're also, if you leave state employment for whatever reason, whether you retire, whether you go to the private sector, come back, whatever, leave the state, they're portable. And you can also extend these benefits to your parents or to family members who may have aged out of your benefits. We've got several popular benefits for active employees that their children have reached the age where they're no longer covered by the state. You can pick up coverage that way, or protect your parents with some of these benefits as well. But today we're going to talk about some changes, especially for retirees, how some Medicare changes and Social Security changes have taken place, kind of identify some gaps and some things that have changed within your state retirement plan, your health plans as well. Ray's going to share some good news on some recent some changes that have been agreed to. Then we're going to share with you some ways to get your house financially in order. and save some money along the way. But to help James and I out a little bit, I want to launch a quick poll, and I want you to share with us kind of, we're 27 days into the new year, and some of us are still doing New Year's resolutions or keeping those. Share with us what your New Year's resolution is. Multiple choice, it's totally anonymous. If you'll just fill in what's out there on your New Year's resolution, it'll help us kind of tailor this conversation. And if you're like me, you started the year with 3 or 4 resolutions and you're doing about half of one right now. So we'll just take a few seconds to answer that, get you involved, and it will help us guide this conversation today, because we're going to talk about so many different topics. Every year people get to say, I'm going to get financially fit this year. I'm going to get healthy this year, physically fit. There are different ways that you can maximize what the state provides for you, as well as some things that are out there to make sure that you cover all your bases at home to take care of you as well. So we'll go to about 4 or 5 more seconds out there and allow a few of you to jump in there. And we'll do a last call here. 3, 2, 1. We'll end this poll and we'll share the results out there. So a pretty good group of you are looking to save some money, get physically healthily fit, as well as financially organized as well. So we're going to talk about a lot of these things today, and we'll kind of roll through this. Grab a pen and paper, and again, if you've got questions, drop them into Q&A. James and I will monitor those. We'll probably respond back to you individually if it's something specific to you. But we're going to jump in and just talk about some big picture things, and then we'll roll through down some more specific. For our retirees who are on the group here today, a couple of good news items. Cost of living increase for Social Security did go up, the largest in decades. At the same time, the Medicare Part B payments decreased by a small amount. So we hadn't seen that in a long, long time. For those of you who are retirees, or more like James and Ray, my age, you remember the old Sears catalog that you got at Christmas that you used to circle all the fun stuff that you wanted for Christmas? This Medicare and You guide is kind of our Christmas catalog. We go through this every fall with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that we know what has changed and what hasn't changed, because that can also impact how you receive your benefits from the state and how Medicare works with primary and secondary things like that. The Medicare Part B deductible also decreased, so that's good. So like I said, depending upon your situation, there are some very good things that took place with Medicare this year, and how Medicare coincides with your state plan. Sometimes they will often be primary on certain things, or it could be impacting your spouse differently, but Medicare has expanded the preventive services they offer, the screening services they cover. Certain insulin prescription situations are capped at $35, things of that nature. Some really good news on the Medicare front. I would highly encourage you to go out and set up your free Medicare online account at medicare.gov. No matter what your situation is in terms of how you receive your retiree health care, you do need to make sure that you sign up for medicare.gov. And pay attention to some of our webinars when we talk about Medicare and how it works in the coming months. Because you are retirees who are Medicare recipients, in addition to the ability to receive your ERS benefits, you may be paying for Part B Medicare. If you had a life-changing event in your situation, whether marriage or divorce or spouse pass away, or you stopped working altogether and your income drastically changed, you may be eligible to reduce some of your Medicare Part B premiums by filing an SSA 44. You can get that out on the SSA.gov website, the Medicare.gov website, and you don't have to wait until you file your taxes to do this. You can do this early if one of these things impacted you as well. Now, for state retirees, just a real quick recap. Whenever you turn 65, or based on your medical eligibility, depending on your condition, you have to sign up for Medicare, depending upon what you're doing with if you're still working, or if you have a spouse that works that is covering you through Medicare or through their spouse plan as well. You sign up for Part A. You can delay Part B sign up past 65, depending upon whether your active status, things of that nature. Then after that, you have your choice to pick. You can pick the Health Select plan, the Medicare Advantage plan, regular Health Select, or you can opt out and secure your own plan, like a Medicare Supplement or a Medicare Advantage plan, or stay on your spouse's plan. So you do have some decisions that you need to make. Each one of those decisions carries secondary decisions about what is and what isn't covered. But so pay attention. If you've got questions, I'll show you at the end how you can find out more information about how that works for you. But really, when you're talking about financial wellness, the best thing that I can point out to you is to understand your plans. Every year, no matter how we receive our health care, if it's from the state as an active employee, if it's from a state as the retiree or Medicare or through a spouse's plan, co-pays, deductibles, and co-insurance clauses change inside. Even if you don't pay any premium for that plan, or you pay a greatly reduced premium for your family, internally co-pays, deductibles, and co-insurance goes up. And then one that we've noticed that kind of starts to creep its way in is what's called an OOP, an out-of-pocket maximum. This is where your plan says you are responsible for X amount of dollars before the plan covers 100% of everything. And with Healthcare Select this year, Health Select, the maximum out-of-pocket plan did go up slightly for the calendar year. So you need to pay attention to those things. It doesn't impact everybody, but it could be something that comes out of your pocket. Now, Ray, I want to take a pause here and let you address something that, especially for those in the Austin area, have had questions about. And there's some good news on that front. Is that correct?
Yes, John, there sure is. This is late breaking news as of yesterday afternoon. Blue Cross, which administers the Health Select plan for ERS, came to an agreement with the Ascension Seton Hospital System. And as you know, all over Central Texas, whether you're in Bastrop or right in the heart of Austin, you have Seton facilities. A lot of you are familiar with the Dell Children's Hospital, for instance. All of those facilities in the Seton system have come to an agreement with Blue Cross so that whereas you might have gotten a notice from Seton that your ability to get coverage while using their facilities might be lessened, now they are going to be fully back in the network, in the ERS Health Select network. So you will be able to receive your usual reimbursement should you have to avail yourself of one of the Seton facilities. So just wanted to let you know that's late breaking news and good news for a lot of you that take advantage of their fine hospital facilities and outpatient facilities.
Great. Thank you, Ray. Appreciate that update. Again, goes back to knowing your plans. Oftentimes we get, as employees, whether we're employed by the state or whether we're employed by another company, we just kind of rest and say, hey, the premiums didn't change this year, but some things do change inside of that. So it's important to understand what your plans are out there. And so here's some tips to be a better healthcare consumer. Like I mentioned, understand your coverage. So many things get changed because the federal government says, you've got to start covering this, or we're no longer covering that type of thing. It filters down to your plans, even if you're an active employee, much less a retiree or retiree with Medicare. Understand your perks and incentives. ERS has done a great job at increasing what is available to you out there in terms of wellness. Some of these programs have incentives that flow along with that. So go out to the ers.texas.gov and take a look at what the incentives are for those of you who are on the ERS health plans. Also, when you go to doctors, ask about pricing transparency and consider shopping around. So many times we get used to going to a facility or to a doctor and they will tell us we're going to do this procedure and you say, all right, good. I know it's a $25 copay. What we don't know is that oftentimes somebody who reads a scan, or you may be going somewhere to get lab work, some of those things may not be in network anymore. So, or that particular provider, and the doctor just is going along right with it. So ask about those things. Make sure you check that out before you agree to the procedure. And then especially don't skip on preventative care. Make sure that you're taking care of that, because that is your biggest asset, is your health going forward. So that's some ways you can be a better healthcare consumer. Let's look at some ways that, regardless of your health plan, there are 4 major gaps, and I want you to be aware of these. So even if you're on Health Select, even if you're on Health Select with Medicare or Advantage plans or supplement plans, they're not designed to cover long-term care issues, or like home health facilities or home or long-term care facilities. there are certain expenses related to cancer, heart, and stroke that are not covered. Now, the treatment is covered. That's the great thing about it, is that you've got really good care from the treatment and the diagnosis piece, but then you start to get the little add-on things that are related to the treatment as far as copays and different deductibles and co-insurance clauses every time you have a scan. Those things can add up, eat into that out-of-pocket max that comes out of your pocket there. And then if you have to travel to Houston or to some centers across the state that have really, really focused care for cancer, those travel expenses aren't covered as well. Another is medical transport. We're seeing this more and more often. Many providers are outside of the network, for lack of a better term, when it comes to medical transportation, be it air ambulance or ground ambulance. And there's some costs that are eating up inside of that could hurt you. And then there's no life insurance protection with any of our healthcare plans. So understand those gaps, help you save some money and be a better healthcare consumer.
John, I just want to vouch for
Yeah,
that. As a cancer survivor, there are lots of expenses you just do not anticipate during the whole process of treatment, whether it's having to go to a far off clinic or be tested. And every single exam, if you're not in the Medicare Advantage plan, every single exam or scan has a considerable copay attached to it. And that doesn't fall under the co-insurance limit. So it can be a hit on your budget that you just weren't ready for.
Exactly. Thank you, Ray. Appreciate that. You know, when we're talking about finances, it goes beyond healthcare. It goes beyond things we spend every day and getting organized and insurance beyond health insurance and how to protect your nest egg in this volatile time out there. So I want to walk through rather quickly the next few minutes, just talking about some actions you can take to make sure that you stay financially on track. Some of these are big budget items. We talk about housing, transportation, and food are the big budget items out there. I want to share with you a few trends we're starting to see in these areas that may or may not apply to you, but if you're looking to save some money, you can save money in these ways as well. In the way of housing, especially for those of you who live in the Austin area, you know that housing prices are going up quite a bit. For retirees, oftentimes they look to downsize as a way to do that, but house hacking is a mechanism or a manner that we're seeing a term that's out there that talks about using your home to generate income. It could be as simple as taking on a roommate. It could be putting your home into an Airbnb type situation or a VRBO, something like that. We're also seeing companies out there that are saying, if you've got an extra storage shed in your backyard, a room in your garage, they are allowing you to put that storage space at your personal residence into a rental pool, for lack of a better term. It's just another way to make money off of your home that way. We're seeing mortgage rates, of course, all volatile across the board. One way that you can save money is lock in those mortgage rates. Another that I want to point out for TPEA members, if you are looking for apartment housing, there are some extremely good apartment services on the TPEA website that can save you money on deposits, get you lowered rent, things of that nature at certain apartment complexes all across the city. So again, no matter where you live in the state, some of them are more centered in Austin, but other major metropolitan areas, go check out TPEA, their website for those member benefits as well. When it comes to transportation, used car prices are still pretty high. If you've got an unused vehicle, maybe a time to cash in on that. We're going to talk about in the insurance section, mileage usage on a vehicle can save you or cost you money on your insurance and how to do that. And then when it comes to food, use the Passport program, your free membership benefit that comes with TPA membership. There are so many restaurants, especially in the Austin area, but all across the state, plus meal prep programs that can save you a lot of money and make your pension dollars or your paycheck stretch a little further. Use this service. It's free to you. And we'll talk about that in just a moment as well. Talking about insurance, just a couple of quick reminders, especially in the state of Texas, because we have such crazy weather, whether it's on the coast, all the way up to the panhandle. When it comes to automobile insurance, every year I encourage you to review your coverage, check your deductibles, check your mileage use. If you are telecommuting from work or to and from work and you're not driving into work, call your agent and ask them, how do you have me rated? Do you have me rated as a as a to and from work use, I'm no longer driving to and from work. You may be able to save money based on mileage usage out there. Can save a big amount of money out there. Look for affinity discounts, ways with through your TPEA membership to stretch your dollar through certain insurance providers and get a little extra discount on top of that as well. Always shop around. I do it every year, but be careful when you shop around, because there are companies that will offer sizable discounts for you to switch, but you may be leaving on the table benefits such as claim forgiveness or reducing vanishing deductibles, things like that. So make sure that you don't leave bigger discounts and benefits on the table just because you're saving a little bit up front. So take a look at that. When it comes to homeowners insurance, let me stress this very strongly, especially to all of us in Texas. Home values are going up. Home value that you can sell your home for versus what the tax rolls say versus what the replacement cost that the insurance company has on your home are three totally different things. But always look at your replacement value on your home. This is what the insurance company would pay if your home burned to the ground or was blown away in a storm and needed to be replaced. It's important for two reasons. Number one, because that is, if it's overvalued, it costs you money. If it's undervalued, you may not get the type of coverage that you need. Secondly, because all of your deductibles, the amount of money you have to pay out of your pocket, are driven off the replacement value of your home. So if your home is $200,000 in value and you have a 1% deductible, that's $2,000 out of your pocket before the insurance company pays. Now in Texas, because we have that crazy weather, insurance companies are starting to provide, or not provide, they're forcing multiple deductibles on your house. It could be a deductible for just for a hurricane, for a named storm, and that can be 5 or 10%, meaning that you have to come out of your pocket before the home is repaired. Or it could be a hail deductible, which could be 1 or 2% before your home is repaired. Or it could be an all other perils deductible. It could be a flat dollar amount or a percentage as well. Understand your deductibles. Sometimes there's some wiggle room and negotiation room. Sometimes there's not, because companies require certain things. Also, some of your major companies out there on insurance have changed their roof coverage, that if your roof is over a certain age, instead of giving you replacement value on your roof, you would get what's called actual cash value, which means that they would come out and provide you just to repair the roof, not to replace it, or provide you less money to replace than what it would cost. So it's important that you understand your coverage. Ask your agent about that. If you've done major renovations because of a storm and you've put a new roof on, tell your agent you could get a discount for that major renovation, rewiring, things of that nature. Again, when you're shopping around, look for bundling of insurance. There's some discounts that way, but again, don't leave discounts on the table. Don't leave earned benefits that you've earned by being with that company for a while. Every year you should review your life insurance as well. The state does provide you amount. You need to make sure that that's enough for your family as well. Look at whether you have term insurance, which covers you for a certain period of time. If you have permanent insurance, it covers you for the whole of your life. Some policies have nursing home riders on them. You have a lot of options within your policies. Make sure you take a look at those and make sure they still cover what you need. I'll talk a little bit about beneficiaries in a moment, because that's another thing I want you to check out as well. All right. When it comes to planning and organizing, getting your financial house in order, I want you to create what we call an ICOD folder, an in case of death or disaster folder. And I'm going to send you, all members, at the end of this webinar today, I'm going to send you a checklist. I'll show you what that is. But I'm going to walk you through these things. This ICOD folder really serves a couple of purposes. First and foremost, it helps get your documents together. In case of your passing, you know exactly where to start. Secondly, in case of disaster, I live close enough to the Texas Gulf Coast that whenever they order an evacuation, I can pull a plastic folder off the table and use it to go and leave the house. It's got all of the documents that I need to make sure I've got it that way. And thirdly, we had this folder together. My wife went to New York several years ago. She had her wallet stolen with all of her identification. And you try to fly out of New York post 9/11, it's not easy. We had all of our documents we could fax up there. So they said there's a lot of reasons why you want to keep this. There are 9 buckets that I want you to start to coordinate your financial documents on. Again, I'm going to send you a checklist, but these fall under life events like your birth certificates, marriage certificates, things like that. Then you have your life insurance and your retirement documents. And here's where I want to spend a little bit of time, especially since we have active employees on here. Your life insurance policies, whether it's with the state, your state benefits, the small amount that they provide, or with your personal life insurance, check your beneficiaries. Too many times, James and I have gone out and delivered beneficiary checks in the event of someone passing to a former spouse, because that person that passed away never changed their beneficiaries with the state, never changed their beneficiaries on their life insurance policies, and their current spouse no longer receives that life insurance proceeds. We also do this with children. We'll take checks out to 2 of 3 children because the 3rd child was never added to a policy. Check your beneficiaries every year, not only on your personal documents, your personal policies, but with the state as well. Also check your death in service documents. You have a benefit as an active employee that if you pass away, the state provides you certain benefits. Make sure you have a copy of what those benefits are in your ICOD folder or where to find those. Again, your beneficiaries as well, because there are certain provisions on how they're paid out, and you want to make sure they're correct and how to get that so that it doesn't take a long time to get those benefits to your family members or your beneficiaries. Have where to get your pension. Know what your pension benefits are going to do. Some of you may have chosen your pension benefits to stop after you pass away. Some of you may have chosen them to go on as you receive them to your beneficiaries, or they may reduce. Have what those details are in your ICOD checklist out there. Banking, because we have so much online banking these days, have those account numbers, password, login information. Safety deposit boxes, if you have keys to safety deposit boxes, label what they are, put on there what's inside of there as well. Have your assets, property, land, cemetery deeds, timeshare ownerships, any of your 401ks, your information on your Texas Saver plan, those kind of things. Have all of those in that asset side there. Conversely, have a list of your liabilities, any mortgage information, if you've taken out a reverse mortgage on your home, any debts that you owe. One thing that we find out is this is an opportunity for scams if you don't have a list of your liabilities. We see often too many times families will get contacted that say, hey, your mother owed me this amount of money. And they'll produce some really impressive looking fake documents that try to play upon your desire to take care of things, but it's a big scam opportunity that you can avoid if you'll list those liabilities you have out there. And then list your monthly expenses, not only what those are, but who the contact is, because there are many times that you need to turn off subscriptions, you need to cancel memberships, certain coverages, things like that your loved one can do to save that money being pulled out of your paycheck or out of your banking account every month. And then finally, the last 3 boxes in here, have your social media accounts, your passwords set up for that, streaming services like Netflix, things of that nature. Have all those in that document. That way those could be turned off at a moment's notice. Your contact details, who your doctor is, who your key contacts are that would need to be contacted in the event of your death or something happened that way. And then always have your essentials there. I don't say put your whole will there. Just say, hey, will can be found in lockbox or found at this lawyer, that type of thing. Have your medical power of attorney available. When my wife had to go to the hospital back over Thanksgiving, the first thing they asked for after the insurance card was, do you have your medical power of attorney and your instruction letter, that type of thing. Kind of scary, but those are things you need to provide right away. There is a tremendous benefit that I want to point out for TPEA members. Texas Legal is a discount service that provides coverage for you if you're an active employee and a TPEA member and you take out Texas Legal. It will help you with any type of workplace actions, things of that nature, administrative actions, but they can also help you get your power of attorneys, your wills and things like that, and save you quite a bit of money out there. So very important to have a Texas Legal on your side, and you can get a discount for that through TPEA, again, saving you some money out there. So I'm going to send you this checklist if you're a TPA member sometime this afternoon or early Monday. I'll send you this checklist. Again, I just take a plastic folder that's got one of those loops on it, start putting my documents in there, and start to keep my list up so that if at any time death, disaster, evacuation, you can take that with you. So again, you'll get that as part of this webinar series today. If you are close to retiring or you have elderly parents, I want you to start asking these questions. This is why. This is a picture of my mother and my daughter a couple of Christmases ago, and we started noticing my mom repeating herself more. So I'm going, all right, it's about time to have this conversation. So we start having these conversations about, where are these documents that you have, Mom? She goes over to a drawer in a cabinet, and there's 2 drawers just full of paper. So that's when we're getting her ICOD checklist together that way. Can I meet with your doctors, your advisors? Where's the pharmacy you want to go to? And then we start to have this conversation about, what have you done for long-term care? The reason we have this conversation is because, unfortunately, 73% of all long-term care is done in the home by someone who had to quit their job to take care of a parent. And so oftentimes we can't afford to do that. So I want to find out how my mom wants to be taken care of. Does she want to move in with my brother or me? Does she want to stay at home, go to a facility, something like that? And what is the means that we're going to handle the cost? So have those questions now. And then we got to asking her about her end of life care. How does she want to be taken care of? Funeral plans, things like that. Come to find out, she had purchased a plot many years ago up near Wichita Falls, where our family's from, 350 miles away. So having those conversations now can really make a difference in the long run. I'm also going to send you this link. And this link is from AARP. It's called the Thinking Ahead Roadmap. It helps you have those conversations with your parent, or if you are the parent and you've got children, adult children, have this conversation now. How to get your financial house organized, how to find out when to transfer those decisions on money management at the right time, the right person, things like that as well. This is an excellent tool, and I'm going to provide this for TPA members who are on the webinar today. Now, real quickly, we look at, James and I do, some threats to your nest egg, and we're finding one out there right now that's overexposure to the stock market as we get older. You have some really good plans if you're an active employee through Texas Saver, but as we retire and have to do something with that money, the chances of living longer and making sure we keep up with inflation, we put more exposure to our nest egg through the stock market. And part of that is, as all of you remember back in 2008, when the stock market crashed, anybody who retired at that point had their money in the stock market and their nest egg lost about 50% of their value. We're seeing a little bit of a gyrating stock market right now. So it's hard to say when that could turn around, but you don't want to overexpose your nest egg if a stock market crashes and you've got to continue to live on it. The great thing about your pension is that doesn't drop. That's protected. This is that other leg of the stool that you've saved up, the nest egg that you want to protect. And, you know, you can't just throw it into a CD because you're not really earning money to keep up with inflation. The cost of eggs, we joke about that going up. Everything else is going up as well. And at the same time, the stock market's down. So you can't afford to take a hit. It may be time to take some of that nest egg money off the table, so to speak, put it into an environment that protects it and avoids any type of decrease. The TPEA has an endorsed tax deferred asset protection plan, really designed for retirees or nest egg outside of. We're not talking about your Texas Saver plan. We're talking about something that you have outside of that that allows you to participate in the ups of the market, but no loss to the market. You can use it for qualified money or non-qualified money. There's no underwriting required regardless of your health. The thing I like about it is it has long-term care benefits inside of that. So I'll show you how this works, or can get you information on how you can get information about this TPEA endorsed plan as well. Real briefly, because I know we're running short on time, I want to talk about required minimum distributions, because this has been a change, okay? This is some change that the government's making. Required minimum distributions are how the government gets their share of tax-deferred monies that you've put away. So we're talking about any individual retirement accounts, any 401k, 403b accounts, your Texas Saver plan, We're talking about those type of things that you put away tax deferred until you reach a certain age and you want to take that out. We're not talking about your pension. We're not talking about just a regular CD or money market account or any type of Roth IRA. We're talking about those things that you put ahead to save money. So what RMDs do, required minimum distribution, the way the government gets their share, is they calculate it on a portion of your tax deferred accounts based on your age. It's based on the balance from the previous year. And that percentage that the government requires you to take out grows every year as you age. In 2020 or prior to 2020, you used to have to take this money out starting at age 70 and a half. COVID comes in, the stock market bottoms out. The government says, let's kick this up so that if you turn 72 or later, you didn't have to take an RMD out. Well, they changed this just this year as part of the Secure 2.0 Act. Now you don't have to take your required minimum distributions out until you're age 73, and that's going to continue to go up and possibly reach age 75 here in a few years. Good news, bad news is, the good news is you can defer your money a little longer, maybe play catch up a little bit, or you don't have to take the money out. The bad news is it may kick you into a higher tax bracket whenever you do have to require to take it out. But you have to take your first required minimum distribution by April of the year after you turn 73. So if you turn 73 this year, you don't have to take a required minimum distribution out until before April 1st of next year, but then you have to take another one out in December or before December 31st. So you always have to take one out every year. Let me show you kind of an example of how this would work. And this is an example of someone who was under the old RMD. The IRS table calculates all this out. I'm not giving you individual tax advice. That's my disclaimer on this. You need to talk to your advisor when you do your turbo taxes or whatever each year. If this applies to you, you'll have a factor. It's based on the aggregate of all of your IRA accounts, but it excludes your 457, your 403B, your 401k, your Texas Saver account. Those are done separately. So if you're a retiree who has money in Texas Saver, they will do your RMDs for you. They will help you keep up to date on that. So it takes all of your accounts that are outside of those 401ks or Texas Saver plans, aggregates them all together and applies a factor. It's not what you owe the IRS, but that money that the taxable RMD amount is what you have to take out. And it's added to your gross income. It impacts the taxes that you're owed. It could impact your deductions. It could impact your Medicare premiums. There is some impact out there. So how you handle that is important to discuss with an advisor. But you need to make sure that you do take your RMDs out, because there is a tax penalty if you don't. You can determine which IRA you want to pull them from. If one's performing better than another, you can pull it out of the bad one, that kind of thing. You can automate it. You can take the taxes out or not whenever the distribution is done by the fund provider. It's all up to you. But the important thing is the onus is on you. Don't rely on your fund manager. Don't rely on your stockbroker or accountant to do this, because you are responsible for requesting the RMD. You have to pay the tax penalty if someone doesn't do it for you. Now, there are some special treatments if you have land in an IRA, or if you've got a spouse that's much younger than you. Just know that those things are out there, and pay attention to them as you get to that age. Now, a lot of times we get people that ask us, hey, I don't need my RMDs. I hope that whenever I retire, I get to that point that I don't need the RMDs, although the government's forcing me to take it out. You can use that money to purchase a long-term care plan, look for a life insurance policy to fund an inheritance. There are some big changes coming next year that would possibly give you the ability to take that RMD money, convert it to a Roth IRA and pay the taxes at that point, but then pass that along tax-free and not worry about any of that in a Roth IRA. So there's some really neat things coming that have been part of that Secure 2.0 Act. You can put it back into a non-qualified plan. You can use it to fund your grandkids' college education through a 529. And if you're a charitable person, there's maybe some ways that you can make a charitable contribution and not pay taxes at all on those RMDs. So there's some things that are out there with RMDs. I think we've had a couple of questions come in here right now. Okay, mostly about membership and about recording. We'll answer those questions coming forward. Thank you very much for putting those in there. But RMDs, we do get a lot of members that ask about that. Pay close attention to those changes. And the reason we have this is because we've got to prepare for living many, many more years. We've got to know that the older we get, once we reach age 65, the chances of us living to 70, 80, 90 years old is exponentially higher. But the impact of inflation, health issues, things like that can really wreck a nest egg. So you've got a plan. And that's what we help do with TPEA, is help you plan that way. Now, I mentioned the passport program. This is a free benefit to TPEA membership. And I'll show you how to become a TPEA member if you're not. It's discounts at merchants all across the state, all across the country, and all across the world. Travel, dining, shopping, but they have a lot of healthy benefits at the beginning of the year. GNC's offering discounts, the Calm app, membership to gyms are greatly reduced, TurboTax, Tax Act, things like that. So if you're looking to do your taxes, you can get discounts on that. In Austin, since we have so many members in the Austin area, I cannot tell you how many new dry cleaning, flowers, restaurants, daycare services, so many different services that are out there for you at greatly reduced prices, special membership discounts for TPEA members. If you're a member, when I send you that ICOD checklist out, I'm going to also send you the link to Passport to sign up. You don't have to have any activation code. Just sign up and start saving today. Can save you a ton of money on great, great vendors out there. I highly encourage you, schedule your benefits checkup. Your life changes, the state benefits change, the federal government changes things. You need to know what's available out there. We can help you navigate that change for you. And the way that you can do that is use this QR code. I showed you the membership QR code earlier. This is a little bit different. We can help you here. If you'll open up your camera feature, hover over that QR code and open up the little form, you can select benefit review. You can write in the comments section, tell me about membership. We can help you get all of those things taken care of for you. If you have questions and you're on your smartphone or you're on an iPad, a tablet, something like that, and you can't use the QR code, simply email me at john.green@amba.info.info, and I'll answer that question or get you directed to the right person. Now, James, we've had some questions pop in up here. Are there anything in particular that the group needs to know?
Well, we've had some interest in becoming members, and mainly they're not a member this minute, but they plan to be soon. Will they be getting the ICOD list and the things that you're sending out, or do they need to wait until they are members and have access into the members only section of the website in order to access the recording?
Okay, super question. We do like to keep everything tight for members. That's one of the perks of being a member. But if you will do this for me, if you will either use that QR code or my email, john.green@amba.info, and say, hey, I want to sign up for membership, we'll get you started down that journey, and I'll include you in the email list on the ICOD checklist and the links and stuff like that. So we don't want you to miss out on any things that can help you out in that process, but we do want to make sure that you become a TPA member. And since there's so many different options, we can connect you with someone who can take care of you that way. Anything else, James, that's popped in?
No, that was it. And took care of a couple specific to legislative concerns, but that's pretty much it.
Okay, super. Again, please tell your friends about these webinars. This is a great way to understand the value of TPEA. Today, you learned about potential pay raise. You learned about new providers and continued providers in your network, ways that you can get your financial house in order, maybe ways to save taxes, things like that. And you've learned about all the discounts that come with your TPA membership. So please, please, please tell a friend about this, tell a coworker, get them involved, especially now, because TPEA membership is so important to pushing those things through that TPA and all of the members have worked so hard for to this point in time. So I'm going to leave this screen up. And if you want to close us out with any final parting shots, you can do that. And we'll stay on, answer any questions, and leave the QR code up as well. So.
Yes, I appreciate that. So one of the things that somebody asked during the question was the text alert number. And I wanted to give it to you again. It is 972-217-40 And if you sign up for those text alerts, we'll let you know what's happening and things that are important to you. Or you are always welcome to go on our website, tpea.org, or email us and we will answer it as soon as we can. So we appreciate you. We appreciate your service and being on this call or webinar. And we look forward to seeing you in person someday.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ann. Thank you, Ray. James, thank you very much. We appreciate everything that you do. And like I said, I'll stay on the line. I'll stop recording here. And if you've got any questions, feel free to drop those into chat and Q&A, and we'll be glad to take care of that for you. So everyone have a tremendous rest of your day. Have a great weekend and stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Take care.